Oh, but am I gonna eat only noodles for the next couple of months? Because I just broke the bank again. Not that there's anything wrong with noodles. I love noodles. Noodles. Try to say noodles like 50 times. Noodles. Such a strange word. Noodles. After my last year's big investment, the Sony A7S III, I knew there's another big investment coming up on my list. Another Sony camera, good enough for video, but pretty good at taking photos as well. So, when the Sony A7 IV came out, I was like, I need it. But man, am I happy. I am. So in case you don't know, Sony has 7 alpha models. The first one is the A7R, where R stands for resolution, and you guessed it, those are the photo dedicated cameras. Then there's the A7S line, where S stands for sensitivity, and these cameras are amazing in high ISO levels. They perform great in low light, and they're also known as video dedicated cameras. Then we get the A7C line, where C stands for compact. These cameras have a little bit of a different form factor. They are easy to carry, if you need to travel, and they do get a bit of both worlds. They have good photo and video functionality, but of course you miss some of the things here and there. And then we get the A7 line, which Sony calls the basic line, and if you ask me, it should be called A7B. For basic. And this is the camera Sony is trying to make the hybrid, if you may. It's not the best in video, it's not the best in photo either, but it's super competent in both. Look, the A7 IV came out about a year ago, but in camera years, that's like last week. So for me, this is pretty new. I bought it with the kit lens, the 28-70, which I don't think I'll be using that much, but it's really good to have. And I took advantage of a local offer that came with an extra battery and a memory card. And obviously a lot of YouTubers have unboxed it and tested it, but I also want to make small tests, but also draw some comparisons with the A7S III. Okay, cool. So first, let's look at both of them and talk about design and usability. The A7 IV body is almost indistinguishable from the A7S III, and I say almost because of these little factors. From the front, they are pretty much the same design, same kind of grip. In fact, if it wasn't for the blue S in the A7S, you wouldn't tell which one is which. From the back, there's one detail that tells them apart, which I'm super grateful for. The LCD screen on the A7 IV opens from the bottom right, which is so much more convenient than on the A7S III. In my opinion, this is super user-friendly. It's so much easier to open it with your thumb. Especially if you have gloves on, so much easier. On the top dials, I feel like the engineers put slightly more brain into the A7 IV with these two changes. First, the exposure dial is now customizable, so basically you can make it do whatever you want it to do. And the second is that now we get a special dial to switch between photo, video, and SNQ mode, the slow and quick. Who comes up with these names? And besides the fact that this is logical and a time saver, it actually adds an extra cool thing. Check this out. On the A7S III, I abuse my 3 custom settings. I made it so that I can switch fast between 25, 50, and 100 frames a second, so I find it super useful to switch modes like that. So on the A7 IV, you can make those 3 custom settings do something on photo mode, but something else in video mode, which is amazing. On the side, you're getting your HDMI port, your mini USB and USB-C, and of course, headphone jack and microphone. On the right side, you're getting 2 slots for your SD card, and the first one can also hold the CF Express card. A great feature is that you get a dust protector on the sensor on the A7 IV, but on the other more expensive, considerably more expensive A7S III, no. Why, Sony, why? Funny enough, the dust protector doesn't come out of the box. So if you take the cap off and you're like, it's there, but you need to activate it in the menu. So you go down in your menu to setup, and then again all the way down to number 12, setup option. You go to anti-dust function and make sure shutter when power off is on. You're welcome. Since I have the camera for a couple of days, I only had time to do some small testing and comparison with the A7S III by taking some photos here in my room and doing some ISO noise peaking in low light. So if you're curious, here is a set of photos I took with the same lens, camera settings, and light conditions. Only keep in mind one camera has 12 megapixels, the other one has 33. I'll give you a couple of seconds to try to see if you can tell which one is which, or you can pause the video if you want. But here is a 50% zoom, and these are the cameras they were taken with. Okay, one more set of photos I took here through my window. Here's a 50% zoom, and these are the cameras they were taken with. It may be hard to tell which one is which depending on what device you're watching this on, but the A7 IV, of course, with the 33 megapixel gives you a lot more detail, a lot more flexibility to crop and lose less quality, and of course a crispier image. If you would have to print the photos, the difference would become pretty obvious. Okay, and here is the ISO test I made. And you can see now on the screen how good the A7 IV is holding up. In fact, in certain values, you might say it's better. But as soon as the A7S III goes to its second native ISO, which is 12,800, you can tell it kicks back in and outperforms the A7 IV. And if you really have to record in pitch dark, in video mode, the A7 IV can go up to slightly over 100,000, which is a lot less than the A7S III, but seriously, who needs these kind of values? But look, I don't want to go deeper with the specs because I'm sure if you want to buy this camera, this is not the first video you're watching. I would rather tell you why I bought the A7 IV for the kind of work I do, and maybe you can relate. A lot of times I found myself in the situation of wanting a big camera, good enough for video, but one that wouldn't give me a nightmare when trying to color match with the A7S III. So now with the same log profile on both, my life would be a lot easier. But also on the other side, I've started taking more photos, portraits, product photography. So now I can increase the quality on what I give to my clients. To be clear, I'm already super impressed with the autofocus on the A7S III, but apparently on this one is even better. Plus, it has animal eye and bird eye tracking. The 4K video on the A7 IV is actually oversampled from 7K, which basically means you're getting a sharper, crispier image. And besides all that, now I have a second camera that can shoot in 422 10-bit up to 60 frames in 4K with a crop and up to 120 frames in 180. All in all, it's not ahead of the A7S III in video performance, but it does give you the best of both worlds, so to speak. So with that being said, I can't wait to use this guy a lot more, and I'm actually planning to get it with me in my next travel in a couple of weeks. And if you've made it so far, you're either a camera nerd, either you're trying to support my channel, or I don't know, why are you still here? I'm joking, but if you want to support me, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like this video, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.